Although Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89, well, does appear to have been some progress with the whole Paramount sale issue. It's not sounding good. It sounds as though the other more interesting parties have all sort of given up, and it's just Skydance which is in the lead for buying the show, basically, the series, everything, Paramount, because, we only care about Star Trek. And at least when Warner Brothers and the other companies were involved, there was talk of huge revisions of Star Trek and, shaking things up and changing things, and Alex Kurtzman leaving and then forming their own Star Trek studios, that everything would be produced in-house from Paramount, where they wouldn't be paying someone millions of dollars to pay all their producer friends millions of dollars to produce a show that looks like about $2 million where they're paying 10. That's what's currently happening, or at least happened with Picard. Strange New Worlds production's a bit better, but still feels a lot smaller. Than you look at the first couple of seasons of Discovery, they had money. Now it just seems to be all the producers are being paid, and then the show's being made, the budget's being set aside after that. After the 22 producers on the last episode, it's just ridiculous at this point. So there's a lot of issues there with that, and we were hoping that someone would come in and they would, they'd cancel Academy, maybe move it to the 21st century where it would actually work, because it's not going to work in the 31st century. By moving Star Trek to the 31st century, they have essentially killed the 23rd and 25th century universes, because they're just redundant, because we're in the 31st century. Star Trek's about going forward. We kind of were doing okay with two eras 100 years apart, because they were closely enough related, you could sort of go backwards and forwards, but pushing something 900 years in the past, if that's what you like, then you're not going to look back 500 years to Star Trek, but yet they haven't managed to portray realistically or believably on any level the 31st century. Like the magic technology that they just use for script armor whenever they need it, plot armor whenever they need it, but doesn't actually seem to affect the day-to-day lives. Nothing seems to have changed. This is a mess. So I was really hoping that, if someone else came in, all this would be revised. They'd go back to the more traditional Star Trek that people want, space exploration, more consistent, instead of this just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks that Kurtzman has, where it's like, let's try and do a series for every section of the science fiction fan group and the general audience to appeal to, and maybe some of it will stick, or one of it will stick, or we'll get a bit of an audience with everything, rather than just focusing on the Star Trek fan base, their audience, and trying to just build some general appeal and interest on top of that. Like, we got core base, this is what we can do, and then maybe we do better. Instead of, that's not good enough, let's just try for something bigger. That failed with the movies and discovering that. Now it's like, let's just try everything and see if we can find something that hits. It's not working, because everything is a further step away from Star Trek, what people actually want from Star Trek, which is space exploration, humanity, utopian future, something we can believe in, wish in, look forward to, aspirational characters. Instead, we're getting relatable characters, dystopian government conspiracies and patriarchy that we can relate to. All these things that don't work for Star Trek, we're getting in all these different forms. And it's just annoying, because even in theory, that idea of having different Star Treks to different areas of the fan base could have some merit if you're just looking at the Star Trek fan base, like having a Starfleet Academy series, like having a space station series, kind of like Deep Space Nine, but maybe on an actual Starfleet station, which would actually be appealing, because even though it still doesn't move, you've got a lot more Federation traffic and just that sense of the future and our future. This could be our future. You could live on a space station. It would be great. Deep Space Nine was horrible. They're always trying to adapt to the Cardassian technology, and the architecture was just ugly as hell, because their idea of aliens is, let's just make it ugly as hell. So yeah, there's so many issues that I thought the takeover or buyout or buying a Paramount would fix. That new people would come in with new eyes, look at the mess and go, yeah, no, we don't need to do more of this. Let's just, take the good parts from this that worked, and take the good parts from the old stuff that everyone loves, and make something that actually feels like Star Trek, that new people, can come in on, and old people can feel like they're still getting Star Trek, and still has the basic appeal that's going to bring in new people. Because this idea that you have to have a kid show to bring in young audiences, Star Trek was never a kid show, but always brought in young new audiences. But why don't they do that anymore? Because they've made it dark and cynical and adult, and kids don't want to watch that. So then they go, well, let's make some kiddie shows. And that may appeal to little kids, but then they grow up and they don't care anymore, because they never had any more interested in it. Star Trek, I liked it as a kid, but I also knew there was more to it. And as I grew up, I grew into understanding the show more because it had deeper levels. Doing just a kid show doesn't have that. So it doesn't lead people into the show because when they grow up, it's like Buffy. Like a lot of people were into that, and then once they grew up, they stopped, and the show never had a future because it really only was about teenagers and monsters being this analogy of teenage puberty and growing and all that. And once you sort of get into that, out of that, into that adult world, and that there didn't really seem to be a story for the show anymore. So now they're just talking about rebooting it. So there's similar problems like that. It's a huge mess, and I was hoping for a solution for some of this. And selling the company, Paramount, would have done that, hopefully, because it would have meant a reassessment of everything, contracts being cancelled, changed, new things being set up. And now what we hear is Skydance isn't going to do any of that. They're just happy to leave things as they are and keep producing stuff like this other Star Trek movies, which failed, didn't make any money, didn't bring in new fans, and they just want to keep on going on. So we're not going to have any progress, any resolution to anything. It's just going to be same old, which on the bright side, it can't get any worse, but there's no hope for any change or anything being better, which is what I got from the idea of selling Paramount. I really thought, wow, some new people could come in, look at Star Trek as a property that was making money, now isn't making money, and actually make the association between those two things and go, we need to go back to some of the core things that worked with the show and bring that back, and that would have been good, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, this has been a very all over the place, rambly sort of video, but yeah, the basic thing is they're moving forward with Skydance, and all the negatives associated with that are all the things I've just explored, all the things I'm afraid of. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to title this video, but I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I want to stop before 7 minutes. Bye.